again. Welcome to my channel. This is your first time logging in. Thank you so much for supporting me, returning listener. I so much appreciate you supporting me and hitting that like button, sharing a comment. There is no shame in looking for help, self-help, mental health services, Psych on Demand, where on this channel and on Psych on Demand, where I make it okay for you to know that some days it's okay not to be okay, but with some help, with some support, it gets better. I myself had to seek my own support, my own therapy, my own toolbox that has all the tools that I need to continue to work on myself. Anyways, thank you so much. And I'm gonna jump right in. Today, I've done so many variations of this video on the pandemic out there, or the epidemic versus pandemic, however you wanna look at it, of single parenthood, single motherhood, single fatherhood in our communities, maybe so to speak, in our communities of color. I found, the 72% of kids who are born out of wedlock, that's close to like 80%. Like for me, that's close to 90%. Born out of wedlock in our communities of color. Immigrant communities or community of color all rallied into one. I feel like that's an astronomical number. Now, come back to the kids who are born into wedlock. Doesn't matter though, truly, excuse me, but what happens when a family structure get ruptured by separation, by divorce, by two parents growing apart, didn't work out? But how does it look like after the rupture, after the separation, after the divorce? How does it look like? This statistic is also astounding, where 50+ % of marriages are ending up in separation, divorce. I am an avid supporter of family centeredness, of marriage, of having two parents who are living and communicating healthily. Don't get it wrong, there are two parents who live together. They're not anywhere close to modeling healthy partnership, communication, forgiveness, empathetic relating to each other and modeling this to the children. And I find that to be heartbreaking and rather saddens me that truly it's a story, and to be one woman who really is a full supporter of family togetherness and fighting for my own family to stay together, and only to feel like it slipped out of my hand. Felt like slip out of her hand, was blindsided, so to speak. But this is why I do some of these videos on my healing journey, discovering who I am in this next phase of myself. Really has given me the opportunity to grow and to really delve into a lot of research, even while I'm experiencing my own pain and growth and moving forward without really bashing my partner for whatever happened, and continue to work on that. But nothing like having healthy, capital, if you're here and you're in a marriage and it's not healthy for you, communication is not going well, there's stonewalling, there's manipulation, there's gaslighting, there's disconnection, separate bedrooms, sleeping separately, no communication, living as roommates, fighting constantly, pretending to be Bayana, showing face to public but behind closed doors, it's a nightmare. You know all the stuff that I'm talking about. You know how many times you go down that wall, like sliding down the wall and you're crying. You're like, this is so hard. And showing up and pretending like nothing ain't happening. You know what happens behind that closed doors. But when you free yourself and you're like, there's help, there's freedom, in like just relinquishing the facade and being uniquely you, embracing who you are, even when you're afraid to step out of the proverbial norm or accepted societal norm of being with a partner, and when it can be toxic as hell, like, ooh, juicy toxic, like get popcorn and sunglasses kind of toxic. You know, I'm kind of funny, but sometimes I find myself to be funny to myself, maybe to a few friends too, but I love it. I love it. But anyway, this leads to 55% of separation that leads to like really not having that type of communication and continue to focus on the best interest of the children, and it's continue to be that other partner's way or the other way, can lead to even poverty, continue to stay in poverty. You know, for me, I would love to have a partner who is more for like you know, like a destiny partner, like your partnership as maybe husband and wife, or if you're not in a heterosexual relationship, you know, your partnership looks more like you guys have a destiny together, you have goals together as a mutual family, and you're working towards creating a legacy for yourselves and for your children and your children's children. Like, oh my God, that's the thing. Like for me, when my relationship broke down and I felt like I was blindsided from it, I didn't see it coming. As much as I really fought for it, it felt like I was single-handedly fighting for it. And my partner was in a whole different place. And hey, everybody got to do them, right? But my goodness, the year before and the last year and the year before that was such a struggle for me. I mean, I would run through it, but if, you know, mutual friends of mine knew, I probably talked a lot of people's head off because I was just so desperately seeking help, pastoral help, therapy, you know, elderly, because in our culture you look for the elders, you seek the elders, you know. However, like I had this fear of just losing what my idea of the future looked like for myself and my kiddos. And it just felt like, and then I was just like bottled with so much grief and resentment and anger that he allowed that to happen, and was not open and willing to at least consider, you know. So, but this is why this is here. I do these videos to help other women, younger women, to work on when you fix yourself. Even when things like that happen, you can catch yourself much easier. There are so many women, single women and single men too, single dads, who literally have lost their minds, you know, in the mental health field. I used to work in patient. It's like heartbroken to the point where it actually impacted their mental health, depression, to the point where they're having psychosis. They are so paranoid. You're so bottled with anger. You know, there's 70% of men and women also, and juvenile in detention centers, in jail. And this statistics, I'm doing this research and it's so amazing. And I'm going to reveal it once I finish it. It might take me some time, but the statistics is outstanding on families rupturing, whether they're staying together or not, but the dysfunction, the toxicity. But the single family style, you know, whether a single mom with children, single father with children, and not like that whole animosity that happens with not being able to communicate maturely, to figure things out, to make it at least as amicable as possible. And it's just like, it leaves a weight. It leaves a really sensitive spot, if I want to choose my words right, for the children and the legacy that needs to be carried on, with the fact that poverty can play, because there's nothing like two heads together, two finances together, two mindsets together, two hands on deck, four hands on deck, taking kids to activities, and this usually start to fall on the woman. And when you don't have good community around you, you are on this survival mode. I've been there, and I'm working where I'm getting to the place where God grace, maybe, hopefully, I'm not maybe like there, but you can't help to feel like, where's the next shoe gonna drop? You know what I mean? As a single mother, as a single father somewhere too, I'm sure there is that small percentage there, but most of the time it falls on the woman. You're in survival mode, and it takes you out of your femininity. Like, really, it's not femininity where you're like so in survival mode. Even your responses to people, different things that might come your way, it's always so like abrasive, or like the attitude. Have you seen that angry black woman syndrome? I've been there in the past. I'm not gonna be real talk here. When you just like, people will look at you and be like, oh my gosh, she's so attitude, or she's so moody, or people are like, why have you frowned so much? You don't smile much, do you? You know, but it's not that. But when you are locked up in survival mode and having grown up in poverty, and you're like, I moved over here, especially telling my story, telling my business, to just get out of poverty, because I watch my parents be toxic as hell. Like, they should not even be together. And my mom, up until she started having memory issues, still is my best friend. My dad, I talk to him all the time, whether it's on the phone, voice note, or by text message. He has this book long text messages to me. And my dad, when is your book gonna finish? He's such a smart man, but just didn't have the resources. You know, so I feel like they didn't have the resources. My mom, such a beautiful woman, still just didn't have the resources, didn't have the education to even take we kids when my dad was acting all crazy in his younger ages. You know, anybody who has worked with my dad before, teacher, he's retired now, but I've had people who in my life will be like, oh, Gina, that's you, your last name sounds familiar. Was that your dad? I'm like, what? What did you know about him? But anyway, I have no shame out of this. I share the story to say that if you're not mindful, like me, for example, have been able to go back to school, to have my bachelor's degree, started like climbing the ladder, and now having my master's, and now working on my doctorates. Like, it might take me 5 years to get the Dr. G title, but it's my passion to self-improve, to do these videos. I used to sweat a bunch. I'm still probably sweating if I lift my armpit right now. I don't want to see it. But I come here even out of fear to like drive the story forward, because in my culture, people feel so ashamed to talk about mental health, to talk about grief, to talk about the fact that it's okay to be angry when you're going through grief. When your life or expectations being ripped from underneath you, you should have every right to be sad, to have sad days, to be okay not being okay, to be sad, to cry, to not want to engage, to turn your phone off sometimes. Well, I know I'm rattling on, but the pandemic or epidemic of single mothers and single dads, the outliers, of course, and being in survival mode is real out there, and you're running with the kids. And if you don't really have a stable work environment, and let's say you're being laid off or you're working 2-3 jobs, what are the statistics behind these kids really rewriting the narrative? Like, for me, I was so lucky and blessed at the same time. I'll put that there, that I was, my story of traveling is a whole different thing. I'll do a podcast on, and travel here and have the opportunity to be able to work and go to school. Because back when I grew up, you don't have the opportunity to work and grow up, maybe a small percentage, and be able to make money to pay your fees, to pay your school fees or your college fees, and be able to get your degrees while you're working. Very minimal. Even getting a job after college is hard. It's hard here. They talk about the US. Imagine how hard it is in Ghana or Africa in general. There's so much corruption out there. But anyway, I love to learn these things and pass it forward to my communities of color, to my immigrant communities, and travel to Ghana, where I'll be soon, and pass this knowledge down. I don't mind, for free. I do this thing because YouTube ain't paying me, TikTok ain't paying me, yeah, Instagram ain't paying me, but it's from passion, because I live it, I've lived it. But there is growth out of the ashes. So as a woman, you're robbed out of your femininity. You can have attitude or anger problems or dysregulation. If the hormone is thrown out there, your dysregulation with your partner, with your children, with your family member is out of this world. And if you're a teen, some teens get kicked out of their house because of the trauma, and people don't realize what trauma, the impact. Or you have kids, let's say a pastor's child who's all of a sudden starts smoking weed or starts smoking ganja or shisha or whatever, or using cocaine or marijuana, well, weed, same thing, or using, you know, who knows, the big guns like opioids, different things, alcohol, to numb the pain of trauma, of anxiety, because nobody's addressing it. Nobody's having those children or adults sit in a therapist chair to talk about emotions, to figure things out about how to rally the core of the family together so our societies can continue to thrive. We pretend and we act like it's okay. We go to prayer services, which is great. Prayer is a tool, it's an outlet, but it cannot be the only thing. Prayer and fasting is awesome, not only for your mind, but for your spiritual connection to higher power. But I'm here to say, this epidemic of survival mode for both the man and the woman and the children, being the innocent victim caught in the war zone of this, is unheard of. And it's my passion. Anybody who has known me, I'm a champion for women and for men as well, because I have both. I have a son, and I want my son to grow up knowing that it's okay for him to let out his emotion, for him to cry, for him to sit in the therapist chair, because he's already sitting in the therapist chair. You should see my son, my lovely son, when he's talking in therapy. So age for his age. He's like 6 going on 26. Honestly, I'm so proud of him and proud of my daughter. And all that came because I was willing to allow the rubble to just fall apart. I was just sick of it. I was sick of chasing after someone who's not willing to be with me. Girl, lady, sis, if you're there and he's not willing, she's not willing to make it work, stop begging. Stop begging. You should hear after the first or second time, just cut it off. Let the whole building just collapse. Pick up the rubble, pick up the stones, start laying it up, because eventually it will turn into a building. Go sit in the therapist chair, go sit your butt. Like, even if it looks like you're covering, like sometimes you see me going to my therapist, it looks pathetic as well as hell. It doesn't look like this made up. It looks like boogers in my eye. I'm crying. I'm like talking until my head is spinning. Anyway, I didn't realize even when I'm so anxious, I get dizzy. What's up with that? I get tremulous. But I'm learning this even from my patients. That's anxiety? I didn't know that. That nightmare I was having was because of trauma of immigrating here by myself as a young person of 18 and trying to survive and figure things out by myself with lack of family support and friendships and trying to figure. But I learned it the hard way. If you hear this video, you're going to learn it. At least it can be a jumping state for you to know. Can combine spirituality, religiosity with mental health and meds if needed. And it makes it. Even if you're a single mom, single dad, you don't have to be in survival mode. I don't want to miss my points. I have to look at my notes. I plan really make notes. And make it bold so I can see, because I'm not wearing my glasses. So it helps you when you start working on that as a single mom, single dad, it helps you fix your picker. So next time around, even if you were like you picked right and you were blindsided along the way. Like for me, I was married almost 15 years. Like if you add 2 years of dating before we got married beautifully in the church, before kids come in, all planned, by the way. But this is my story. But imagine the people out there who were not even planned. Imagine the pain and the desperation as a woman to try to just keep your children together. The desperation as a woman. If you're a woman out there, you're a single woman, or you're in a relationship, like how you are staying there because you're afraid. I know it's not easy. Financially, especially, my mom stayed. My dad knows he crazy as hell. But my poor mom stayed with them. They've been married for over 40 years. But do I think they should be married for over 40 years? Most likely not. Their relationship got better because they got old. My dad just literally ran out of steam. He's such no energy anymore. And now he's more willing to talk about his feelings. And he even cries. This is a man who was like a bulldozer, okay? But this is our culture also too. If you compare Black communities to white communities, our white Caucasian counterparts, even what the way they talk to their kids. By the way, I have been embedding that in my style as a single mother. Like when I'm talking to my kids, I'll be like, "Oh, hon, are you okay?" At least I try. Like I parent from a soft place, because I wasn't parented from a soft place, and I'm trying to now learn to embody my femininity. And it's not all about this, like no, truly femininity is not about that. We're learning to control emotions and moods, even when you're talking to your partner, your ex-partner, your co-parent, you know, not like cutting out. Like initially when this whole thing happened to me, I was really angry, and he will send messages that also not coming from a growth space, and I'll send back immature and names in between. You can just imagine, till we got apps and whatever. I don't put my business out there, but it's all about letting out. I don't care. You can judge me, but I'm sure you're listening to this point. There's something you're getting from the video. But anyways, I'm here to tell you, learning to regulate emotions, it's all about femininity. Being quiet when you need to be quiet. But speaking up. Many people think, oh, being feminine means not speaking up. You don't speak up, you're going to embody that anger within you. Your children will feel your anger, even though you pretend to not let it out because you're being feminine. You have to be quiet because the expectation culturally is for you to be quiet, because your partner doesn't want you to be seen but not be heard, because that kind of the woman that you're supposed to be, that's what culturally accepted. You're submissive. But what kind of submissive are you? By the age of 50, 60, your memory is gone because you embody so much anger. You didn't let it out. You didn't seek opportunity to heal and talk and communicate with your partner in the best, healthiest way and model that to your children. You're going to wait till your children are off to college before you start now wanting to have a life for yourself. That's healthy and whole. But what if you get to that point and it's late? Life is too short to be waiting for a certain time to be. My mother used to always say this thing. Like in my culture, saying that like I'll be happy when we get there, when we have money or something. Now she's 70 something and she's already losing her mind because she embodies so much of the anger to try to keep the family together. And many of us women do that. We embody the anger. You know what happens? Early dementia, anger issues, attitude issues, obesity issues, diabetes, hypertension, unexplained sudden cancers that take us out. Colon cancer, because the core. 2 years ago, I had this uproar of all of a sudden bout of constipation. Like, this is too much info, but I'm just being real. I had emergency colonoscopy. Come to find out, it was all the emotions I was embodying, trying to keep calm while I was going through a really deep separation that I didn't see coming. And I was like, how am I going to hold this in when this man just up and left me with his children in this US? How do I figure it out? And I was fighting, like, come on, what do I do? Oh my God, what do I do? And I was all this mess of emotions. No! 1 second. Shh, okay. So, this to say that even when you are, like, let's say you're dating someone, be careful when they have a baby mama or, you know, an ex. How are they talking about her to you? You think that he's going to pick you up and all of a sudden have a different attitude, or she? I'm doing it both ways. I don't want to just be like bashing man. This channel is not about bashing man. I love man. love me some chocolate kings. Okay, I always say this. And I have a son, so I'm not gonna bash men. I love men. I love my son. I love me some men, some good men to say. But if he's bashing her, I'm just focusing on that aspect for now. Calling her a B, saying all this stuff about her. Guess what? It's only a matter of time before he starts calling you that, or she started calling you that. That's small percentage of the women who might have an ex. Most women, we want to have a workout. We want to have a workout, truly. We even want to make friends with our exes, new partners or friends. As much as it was painful, it's like, I remember I was so desperate. I even told my ex, I'm like, I don't even mind if I have a second wife. Like, I'll let you like have a second wife and I'll stay a first wife. Like, we can have a whole freaking village of like sister wives. I was that desperate to keep my family together, and still like I had my issues. I'm not perfect, but how do you rally families together from a space of empathy? And now men open and willing to seek help and therapy, and even if it's fractured and apart, we can still move the legacy forward for the kiddo's sake. There's no need for us to have this survival mode, you know, poverty mindset, feeling so scared and unsafe, nervous system ragged up. And then you say that ex is a bitch, that ex is crazy. It's only crazy because you're giving her crazy. If you give her good, she'll not be crazy. So like I always say, this video is like long, but it needed to be long, you know, because some people think they're, you know, dating my ex, you know, she was not good, but you know, you're gonna be the great. Just give him or her the time, and you'll be smelling that. You'll be smelling the rock. So, if you can whip it in your mind, you can whip it everywhere else in your life, including your dating life, including your separation, your divorce, your blended, beautiful family. Seek out my services, Psych on Demand, or any other services. Look online. There's so much help out there for kids, women, men, families. Until my next video, hit that like button, subscribe and share. Bye.